So if we can start the recording. Welcome everyone to today's Arborist call. It is the 30th of May and I'm Pili hosting today's call. We have the following agenda for today as usual. Today we'll hear some updates from the Zcash Foundation on Zebra, then we'll hear from the ECC and Zcash on Zcash D and Sashi. Then we will move on to some updates on research and implementation work. So namely the Sustainability Fund, if there's anyone around, ZSA's Frost and Trailing Finality. And next we will open the floor to participants if anyone has any announcements or if there's any other discussion that people want to discuss. So what is the Arborist call? The Arborist call is a bi-weekly call where the Zcash protocol contributors meet up to discuss upgrade timelines and process, protocol research and development efforts, design and implementation of new protocol features, and we try to identify blockers and unresolved issues. So we host this call in order to make Zcash protocol development accessible to interested parties and in order to provide more transparency for the community. Anyone can register to attend. You just can go to zcasharborist.org. And if you want to become more involved and you want to present during this call, just email us at arboristcall@zfmd.org and we will grant you a presentation slot. Outside of the Arborist call, you can participate in the Zcash community by applying to one of the grant programs, or you can take part in community discussions in Zcash R&D, Discord. There's also a global Discord, and there's the Zcash community forum. And there are clickable links for all of these at zcasharborist.org. So, whoops. With that preamble, we can move on to today's agenda, and we're starting today with Zebra, which is the Zcash Foundation's node implementation. Alfredo, I believe that's you today.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so in the last 2 weeks, we had part of the team in the ZK Proof workshop in Berlin. So we made less progress than usual, but still, I have a few highlights that I wanted to share. So we finished fixing a bug in the serialization of the node commitment trees. That was a bug reported. I don't remember the name of the person who reported it. Marek was working on it, and we ended up fixing it in this period. We finalized the task of upgrading the ECC dependencies, which are the Zcash client backend and the Zcash primitives, the orchard, and all of that. So we have an open PR in Zebra for that we will merge very soon, which is pretty much ready. In addition to that, Marek opened a PR in the Zcash client backend about some fixes to some types so we can send them across threads. We can go without that, but it will be good if we eventually have that feature at some point. So it would be great if someone could take a look in the ECC side, but we're not in a rush for that. Then we have Conrado is working in a Zcash script simplified API, which I don't know a lot of details about that, but it's something we're working on to make the Zcash script integration with Zebra easier. Then we did some research in a list posted in the forum about some requirements to deprecate Zcash D. We end up finding that everything in the list, either we already have it in Zebra or requires wallet support. We don't have yet. Yes, and finally, we had plans to move the Zebra scan, which is sort of wallet functionality, to a new repo. We are now trying to reduce the scope of that by having the Zebra scan running in its own process, which will give us the security that the keys are not in Zebra, but will avoid us some work in regard to having a new repo with a new CI and stuff like that. So we might follow that path first and then figure out if we really need to put it in a new repo. Yes, that's kind of what I have.
Thank you, Alfredo. Does anyone have any questions for Alfredo?
Conrad.
I can talk a little bit about the Zcash script change. So basically, the problem was that Zcash script is just a wrapper, a Rust crate that basically links a C++ file and use like ByteGen to link this file, which processes like Bitcoin script, which Zcash inherited. But the problem was that due to how the API is structured, the API takes like a pointer to a C++ transaction, and that requires linking all of the things that are required in a transaction, including like orchard crate and so on. And that was a bit annoying because every time Zcash updates, we had to update Zibra's Zcash script to match the same dependencies. And this kind of reflects into Zebra because it links to the Zcash script and so on. So what I did, I changed the API so it doesn't take a transaction as an input. It takes a bunch of other parameters which are required to validate a transparent transaction, and it takes a callback which is called to compute the SIG hash of the transaction. So with that, I create API, it's done, it's ready for review. I create API in Zcash script and an API in Zebra to use it, the Zcash script update API. And with that, Zcash script doesn't have any more dependencies other than the C++ code, but it doesn't link to any Rust crates, which is nice. This new API also shouldn't have performance impacts because you can still pre-compute things if you need it, because the callback function takes like an opaque pointer, so you can create a struct which has the pre-computed data. You can use it when computing the SIG hash. And I did that for our code in Zebra that calls it. It does pre-compute things. So it's working, and I'm happy that it's a very old problem that we have, which now I think it's mostly solved. I know that ECC wants to replace everything with Rust, but I think it's a halfway step there that will help us in the meantime while everyone works on the Rust replacement for the Zcash script.
I mean, it will help us. It will help us work on that Rust replacement for Zcash script because it'll be much simpler to build the two side by side and do comparison testing and so forth, and to have them both script interpreters running side by side against the chain data, which will be really helpful.
Yeah, certainly. That's a good point. And that's it. The PRs are ready for review, so they should get merged sometime soon.
Thank you, Conrad.
Thank you.
No problem.
Anything else? Any other questions on Zebra, or shall we move on to updates from the ECC?
Just really great work on that, Conrado. That's going to be a major help.
I'm glad it's working.
Great. So let's move on to electric coin company updates on Zcash, Sashi, and the wallet SDKs. Who wants to talk about that?
Chris, can you do this?
Yep. So, all right. So last week, we released Zcash D 591, which is a relatively minor update, but it includes some additional support for zip 320 text address parsing that generation that Binance had requested. So as well as some other minor fixes to corner cases in the peer-to-peer protocol.
Yeah, just to clarify, that's not actually zip 320 support. It's only a utility API that Binance wants to use to validate text addresses.
Yep. So we did that. Dara Emma has been working on the wallet support for ZIP 320. We fixed a bug in the incremental Merkle tree and shard tree crates that affects wallets where there was a corner case related to how tree insertion was being done that could make funds unavailable because you couldn't compute a witness in a very narrow specific case near the end of one of the shards of the note commitment tree. So that's been fixed. Strad has been working on another piece of wallet support, which is in order to support currency conversion. One of the concerns that we have is that we, at least for Zashi and other Zcash wallets that will support currency conversion, we don't want users' IPs to leak directly to the providers of the currency exchange rate, because that's, you know, an additional third party that's sort of outside the security model for leaking that information. And so we've been looking at a couple of different approaches. We have a prototype for a change to Light Wallet D that allows proxying, or allows Light Wallet D to proxy requests to exchange rate providers. We're also looking into a couple of the exchange rate providers provide signed, essentially signed exchange rate data. And if we're able to use that, that would probably be the preferable solution, to have Light Wallet D retrieve signed exchange rate values and then provide those to the Light clients that could then validate the signatures. Dara Emma, is there anything else that I'm forgetting there?
Making good progress on Zashi 1.1.
Oh yeah, yeah. There are
yeah.
a bunch of neat features in progress for Zashi 1.1 that some of which Dara and I just got to see the first sneak peek
iteration
of, this morning. So I'm excited about those.
Great, thank you. Paco, you have a question?
Oh yeah. About the prototype of the conversion, fiat conversion, currency conversion on Light Wallet D, is one of those that you're evaluating the PR that was originally used in Zec Wallet?
No, I don't believe so. Which
So
service did that use?
I think it used maybe like 2 or 3 different providers, and then did some kind of averaging, but it was kind of that approach.
So the concern that we have is that Light Wallet D should never be, a Light Wallet D provider should never be in a position where they can manipulate the data that's returned from the exchange rate providers. So the client wallet has to either be able to connect directly to an exchange rate provider over TLS and get the exchange rate directly from that provider, or if Light Wallet D is going to be in a position to cache that data, then the client needs a way to validate it so that the Light Wallet server can't manipulate it.
And if the client wallet connects directly, then that's revealing information to both the API provider and sort of any eavesdroppers about sort of the timing between when it's querying and its transactions.
Yeah.
So ideally, we'd like to.
I recall those.
Yeah, ideally, we'd like to proxy via Light Wallet D, both via cache, both for caching, which is possible in the signed information case, and just to obscure the origin of the connection in the case where we don't have signed information.
Yeah, I recall that once we had some issues with currency conversion because one of the main oracles was down and reporting like plus infinite, kind of like overflowed that data. And it came to my mind why that approach kind of like did that weird average and all. But yeah, the sign thing is it's interesting. I just wanted to check that out and just I don't know.
Yeah, the client should definitely sanity check the data as well as doing averaging or median.
Yeah, one of the challenges is that it doesn't appear that there are very many providers that actually make signed data available. So right now we only know, well, right now we only know of 2 providers that provide signed data feeds, and one of those doesn't appear, at least, to provide the ZEC exchange rate in their signed data feed. There's also a little bit of a complexity there that this is something I actually want to talk about in the Light Client Working Group later today, which is that if Light Wallet D is going to be in a position to proxy these signed data feeds, then those will likely require for the Light Wallet D operators to have their own access tokens to, because these are sort of premium services from the data providers. They don't just give their signed feeds away, and so it will require the Light Wallet D operators to have accounts with those data providers in order to be able to retrieve those feeds that they can then proxy, and the wallets will be able to verify.
Yeah, which is probably only feasible if they apply for a grant to do that.
Yeah,
I would think.
The other alternative is that that wallets use, the free APIs directly proxy, with TLS proxied through the Light Wallet server so as not to reveal their IPs, but there would then have to worry about rate limiting and so forth. So there are some implementation trade-offs in this space that we've been grappling with.
Yeah, for the time being, we're not committing to either the signed data approach or the proxying the TLS connection approach. We're pursuing both, and we'll see which works better, or a client might be able to use both. Which I think might be necessary given the paucity of data sources.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another chapter of the Privacy's Hard movie.
Yep.
Awesome.
Great. Any other questions for the ECC team? Okay, let's move on. So put this in here. We already talked a little bit about it with Conrado's Zcash script PR, but any other updates from the ECC side on Zcash deprecation?
So Sean and I have made a couple of steps forward on the implementation of Zcash script in Rust, but that's been just a few hours of work. We haven't made a ton of progress on it yet.
Oh. And there's been some work. Oh, John?
Yeah, is that for the transparent part? That's the
yeah,
okay.
The transparent. So we're writing a port of the transparent script interpreter in pure Rust, so that essentially to make it possible to we need that for full wallet support of transparent functionality, which is needed in order to replace the Zcash D wallet. And the alternatives there we don't want to, after Zcash D is deprecated, to continue to have to maintain a bunch of the Zcash D code so that the Zcash script crate continued functioning. So we want a pure Rust implementation of the transparent script interpreter and construction tools for important types of transparent scripts like multi-sig scripts and so forth. But we want that all to be in pure Rust. And so the strategy that we're taking is Sean some time ago began this Rust implementation of the script interpreter. We're continuing with that, with the plan being that hopefully in NU6, the Zcash script pure Rust implementation will be complete. And we would like for both full nodes to continue running with the existing C++ script interpreter for consensus, but at the same time, run the new Rust implementation side by side with it to verify that the results are the same when looking at all of the transactions on the network. And then in NU7, we would do a network-wide switch away from the C++ interpreter that then allows all of the C++ Zcash D code to be completely deprecated, and we no longer have to worry about it, and then we'll be running entirely on the new stack. And any consensus divergence will have by that time verified that all of the existing transparent history that we're aware of, where we have the transparent scripts, validates correctly. There could, at that point of transition, be transparent scripts where just the script hashes exist in existing outputs, but the scripts have never been revealed. There could be cases where those funds are locked up or where there are otherwise problems with their scripts. We're going to do all that we can to, with fuzz testing and whatnot, to eliminate possible divergences like that before we would make that kind of change. But that is the
and that change is not necessarily tied to NU7, so we could continue temporarily using the C++ script interpreter and just wrapping that like ZebraD currently does.
Yeah, it's just that it means that in that circumstance that there's still potentially maintenance required for the old Zcash code, and that's
not ideal.
We'd like to avoid that if it's possible.
Yeah, the point I was trying to make is that it's not going to delay NU7 if we can't do that in the NU7 upgrade.
Yeah.
Is there a subset of the scripts that is primarily used by the exchanges that you can see it covers like 99.99?
Yeah, so Strad has previously done that kind of investigation, and yes, it's basically just P2SH being used in pretty much the same way as P2PKH, and the other things where it's actually substantively used are multisig and a few hash time lock contracts, but even that's not significant, really. Yeah. And we'll test those cases.
Yeah, and Strad is currently, I think, as yet another thing that Strad is doing on the side when just for fun is attempting to restore his tooling that he had written for doing that analysis and improving that. So sometime, I don't know exactly when, but before we certainly in the coming months, we'll be redoing that analysis probably as part of trying out the new script interpreter on the complete history of the chain.
Very interesting.
Okay, any other questions or any other comments? Okay, let's move on to research and implementation updates. Do we have anything from on the Zcash Sustainability Fund today? Let me see if I see anyone. Don't believe there is anyone on the call to talk about that. So let's move on then to Zcash shielded assets. Jonathan, is that you today or Vivek?
Yeah, hi, I'm there, so I'll give the general update. So yeah, I think as Alfredo mentioned, we also were there at ZK Proof, and it was nice to meet some people from ECC and Zcash Foundation there. Like in-person meetings are always nice.
I very much enjoyed ZK Proof. Maybe we can talk about the Plonkish standardization later, but carry on.
Yeah, so so then post that, I guess like a few of us also went to Eurotrip, the affiliated events, and the conference. And so yeah, but that aside, we've also made some progress on Zcash shielded assets. So to summarize, I guess like there's some amount of progress on the Halo 2 gadget side of things. We have added a trait to generalize it in the existing lookup range check to allow like instantiating that for both the Orchard ZSA circuit and the existing Orchard circuit. We've like made sure that we test these gadgets against the existing Orchard circuit and make sure that it doesn't affect the existing layout of the circuit. So yeah, we will be submitting a PR to this for this soon, because this is like this will be to the Halo 2 repository since it's just a standalone addition to Halo 2. Then aside from that, we've been working on the Orchard and Libra Zcash crates. So some amount of it is like making sure us additions work on top of the changes that have happened upstream. So I think we finished it for Orchard. It's like stable on top of 0.8. I think there's something pending on Libra Zcash side, something like not fully done yet, but yeah, we'll be working on that and should be done soon, I guess. Yeah, Zcash note encryption, we had a PR out. I'm not sure, I might have mentioned that last month, so maybe that's not new.
We've unfortunately been too busy to work on review of that, but we haven't forgotten it. It's high priority.
Yeah, and so yeah, there was also Zcash test vectors. We haven't submitted the formal PR, but like we discussed with ECC, and so we've made it into like 2 bits, one that separates out the Orchard ZSA work from the Orchard work. So we'll submit that first, and then there's additional work on top of that, which changes the transaction structure and adds, the issuance bundle and things like that. So that will be separate and subsequent. Yeah, I guess there's like some pending things on the zip. I made some changes to that, and again, haven't submitted the PR to the Zcash repository yet. But yeah, there were issues that were raised, and we are working through them, and we'll respond on the issues as we complete that.
Thank you, Vivek.
I think that's about it for.
Any questions for Vivek or any other comments? Okay, let's move on then. Frost, Conrado, is that you today?
Yeah. So what's going on is that we presented a ZCon a demo, which is we were calling the phase 2 of adding online communication to the demo. And there was this outstanding PR to get reviewed and merged, and it got merged. So if you want to try out the same thing we presented as ZCon, you can do that. We also updated documentation to match. Natalie is still working on the refresh shares functionality. She created a PR that I need to review for the trusted dealer key generation, and she's working on the distributed key generation support for refresh shares. And after that, we proceed with the work on the Frost server, which is used by the demo now. Which will help people to connect to each other to run the Frost protocol, and that's it. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Camarado. Paco.
Yeah, I just wanted to publicly thank all the Frost team and Conrado to give me awesome support this last days and weeks that I've been like doing a POC with Frost, and they've been great. Thank you for your patience.
No problem, and the feedback is very helpful to help us improve the API.
100% agree. I love it when people are trying things out and, you know, give us feedback that we might not have thought about and just help us make it more usable and better. So thank you for trying it out and doing that work, Paco. Great. Anything else on Frost? Okay, let's move on to trading finality. Dara, is that you today? Any updates?
Yep. No particular work on that because I've been away at ZK Proof. Can I do an update on ZK Proof instead?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah. So there's many things presented there, but from the point of view of Zcash, one of the most significant is the standardization work on Plonkish. So that's being led by me, Strad, and Mary Maller. And it's making really good progress. So we had a session out on it where we found sort of 2 bugs in the spec, and those can easily be fixed. But I think the stage we are at now is trying to define an encoding for Plonkish circuits. Plonkish is the arithmetization used by Halo 2 and by other systems.
Great, thank you. I moved the slides forward to open discussion. We can go back to announcements also. That was the previous item, or if anyone has any questions or comments for Dara on that work, then please raise your hand.
Yeah, maybe I should have motivated that work more. I mean, so Plonkish is a more complicated arithmetization than sort of R1CS, which is kind of just quadratic constraints. And I think that if that is standardized, then it will help a lot in sort of promoting interoperability between sort of different proof systems and different circuit languages. So it'll probably make it easier to write circuits in high-level languages.
Okay, great. Any other questions at the moment? Let me go back up to, open announcements. Does anyone have any announcements or any news that they'd like to share? ZK Proofs is over, we can't announce that anymore. Okay, seems like there's nothing there. Going back to open discussion, any other topics to discuss today? Raise your hand.
So I guess the next gathering will be CECC. So that's in July, I think, in San Diego. So if anyone wants to go to that, then yeah, I'm sure it's on. I think it's on ECC's Twitter.
Okay. I think last call for announcements or discussion. I guess not. So thank you, everyone. The next Arborist call will be in 2 weeks' time on the 13th of June, and it will be at the later time of 21 UTC. Hope to, well, I won't be at that one, but I'll see the rest of you in a month. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.